The richest country on Earth has a plan for Ebola. Not to fight it, to ship it. While Washington tells its citizens America will be kept Ebola-free, US officials have been quietly building a 50-bed quarantine camp on an African Air Force base for Americans exposed to the virus. Then Kenya's doctors found out. They had foreword, "Not in our country." A Kenyan court has temporarily suspended a United States plan to set up an Ebola quarantine facility in Kenya after strong opposition from doctors and civil society organizations. On May 29th, the High Court in Nairobi suspended any agreement related to the facility until petitions challenging the plan are heard on June 2nd. Senior US officials said the 50-bed unit at an Air Force base in central Kenya would serve Americans who have been exposed to the virus but are still asymptomatic. In an order late on May 28th, High Court Judge Patricia Nyaundi ordered the government not to admit any person exposed to or infected with Ebola under the proposed agreement until the legal challenge filed by the Katiba Institute was resolved. The Katiba Institute said in its lawsuit that the quarantine plan raises grave constitutional concerns regarding the rights to life, health, fair administrative action, public participation, and parliamentary oversight. The Kenya Law Society urged the court to nullify any US-Kenya agreements, citing public health risks, a lack of public participation, and Kenya's insufficient, high-containment infrastructure required to safely manage such a facility. Adding to the pressure, a Kenyan doctors' union issued a 48-hour strike notice, accusing the US of avoiding Ebola on its own soil and turning Kenya into a dumping ground.
As the vanguard of Kenya's healthcare system, we are utterly disgusted by the government's apparent willingness to trade national biosecurity and the lives of its citizens for foreign aid.
On May 28th, the Kenyan government had allowed the US to use land at an Air Force base in Laikipia, central Kenya, to set up a quarantine facility. Kenyan authorities stressed that any international agreement would strictly follow the country's laws and health policies, adding that the government had taken all necessary measures to protect the nation's borders and ensure the safety of its citizens.
Anything that comes from an international request, it goes by the laws of Kenya. So we will not be breaking the law to have a conversation with partners. Not just the US, but any other partner. It goes by the laws of Kenya. So we want to affirm that our country we are ready, we are capable, and the ministry, we have taken all actions to ensure that we continue being guided by our healthcare workers and our policies to protect our boundaries and also to ensure that every Kenyan is very, very safe.
Some US health experts, meanwhile, have criticized the plan, saying it could discourage Americans from joining the Ebola response. The Trump administration has said the plan will allow patients to more quickly access care and will protect Americans at home. Last week, a US citizen who was treating patients in the DRC as a medical missionary was confirmed to have contracted Ebola and moved to Germany for treatment, along with 5 others who were exposed. A 7th person was taken to the Czech Republic. The Trump administration has said it cannot and will not allow any cases of Ebola to enter the country, unlike during the 2014 to 2016 Ebola outbreak in West Africa, when several infected US nationals were treated on US soil. The planned facility in Kenya is due to be staffed by members of the US Public Health Service, a uniformed branch of the Department of Health and Human Services. More than 30 were trained in Washington for 3 days and left for Kenya on May 27th. Kenya has pushed for the facility to be open to all nationalities, not just US citizens, but it is not clear if that will be the case. the US State Department said it would commit $13.5 million towards Kenya's Ebola preparedness efforts.
We cannot and will not allow any cases of Ebola to enter the United States. And so the State Department and other agencies represented here, the Centers for Disease Control, HHS, others are working very, very hard to contain this crisis to the countries where it's currently located, particularly the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Since May 15th, the Congolese government has confirmed over 1,000 suspected cases and at least 220 deaths. However, the World Health Organization suspects the true scale is much larger due to weeks of undetected spread. The virus has also crossed into neighboring Uganda, which has reported 7 cases and 1 fatality.
I kind of feel like that's a little bit off and not a bit fair for the host, like us being the host. Like, why would you create a facility within my country and it doesn't serve me? Yet the same facility is going to host people who are endangering my own life. Yet if I end up contacting Ebola, God forbid, I can't be taken care of. Furthermore, the Kenyan system, I'm not so sure if they have their own system or facility to actually help me out. So I kind of feel like I am in my own nation, but I'm not having the facility to serve me. But instead, I am having the field to host the facility that is taking care of somebody else whose economy is way better than my own. I mean, third world, and theirs is first world. They can as well have it in their own place.
Why do Americans think that their lives are so much important than the lives of Kenyans? So that they establish a facility in Kenya that is meant for only Americans. If they must be allowed to open that facility here, then it must be a facility that serves every human being in Kenya, Kenyans and Americans alike, but not restricted to quarantining only Americans.
I think it's not good for the Kenyan people. Furthermore, the USAID funding was cut. It will not be a good thing.